We have a man who became a billionaire from salt.
Yes.
From salt. You can all put salt on. He did it the best. Bam.
And that's Salt Bae. Not just a meme, but a whole moment. Tight white tee, slick back hair, the dark shades, and that salt sprinkle from the elbow that turned seasoning into pure theater. This Turkish showman didn't just trend.
2016, I make a video. I make one big tomahawk, and then I cut very nice, and then I put the salt, with the sun, like a rain, like a snow. And I go to sleep around 1 o'clock, 1 hour. I have 1 million people. We go to Abu Dhabi, 3 million. And then all week, 7 million people.
He took over the internet. But unlike all those one-hit wonders who blow up and disappear, Salt Bae flipped the script. He turned that viral fame into a straight-up gold-plated empire. No joke. We're talking about restaurants dripping in luxury, with steaks wrapped in literal gold leaf. And Salt Bae himself, still out here slicing Wagyu like a samurai and feeding celebs cappuccino like it's a royal ritual. Ronaldo, Federal, DiCaprio, Federal, Beckham, of course. At this point, it feels like every celeb on the planet has crossed paths with Salt Bae, but maybe that wild fame and flashy circle got to his head, because what came next? Straight up chaos. Instead of staying in his lane, Salt Bae went full spectacle mode, and it backfired badly. First, he snatched the World Cup trophy straight from Messi's hands in 2022 like it was his. The nerve. That single moment had fans worldwide fuming, and it didn't stop there. He got kicked off a Champions League field by security like some random crasher. Lawsuits started piling up from his own employees, calling him out for all kinds of shady stuff. And behind the gold-plated image, his restaurant empire started crumbling. Locations shutting down left and right. Money bleeding out like a busted pipe. But what triggered the most outrage? Not a single visit to his mother in 2 whole years. The same woman who used to hustle on the streets selling snacks just to feed him. While he's out here flying private, serving up salt sprinkles to billionaires, his mom, the one who raised him, got 0 visits. Fans didn't let that slide. So what really went down? Let's get into it. Salt Bae, born Nusret Gökçe, came from nothing. A working-class kid in Turkey who had to drop out of school at just 13 to help his mom survive. He picked up a chef's knife before most kids finished middle school. And that viral sprinkle, it flipped his whole life. He became the gold-crusted steak king, an icon. But somewhere along the way, the salt turned sour. Everything started unraveling when he forced his way into Messi's big moment after Argentina's World Cup win. The entire world was watching, and there he was, sliding onto the pitch like an awkward uncle no one invited, trying to steal the spotlight. He went way too far, tugging at Messi, who had just played the match of his life, completely exhausted, barely able to breathe, and Salt Bae's out here trying to force a selfie. Then he tried to grab the trophy, acting like he earned it. Messi looked straight up confused and annoyed, clearly not feeling it, but Salt Bae didn't stop. He even snatched the trophy out of a kid's hands just to pose solo, kissing it, biting it like he was testing gold at some sketchy pawn shop. It was wild.
I love Argentina. I love football. This is the accident. Before I don't know the rules. Now I know the rules. My mistake. Next World Cup, I never touch the World Cup. I go to, of course, stadium, see the match.
Like crashing someone's wedding, grabbing the bouquet and claiming you're the bride. And the craziest part, he had 0 ties to Argentina. Just weeks before, he was busy hyping up Ronaldo all over his Instagram. Now suddenly chasing Messi's shine like he was part of the squad? People saw right through it. The internet exploded with outrage. FIFA, they didn't play around. They launched a full investigation and banned Salt Bae from all official events for life. And his only response? A weird flex. He posted a photo of himself hugging Messi at his restaurant like everything was cool, but nobody laughed. It wasn't just cringe, it was straight up disrespectful. You'd think that level of backlash would have humbled him. But nope, just a year later, this man showed up again, uninvited, crashing a Champions League after-party, dressed in a tux, rocking sunglasses at night, looking like a bootleg Turkish James Bond. He didn't last long. UEFA security wasted 0 time. They escorted him right out of the Champions League party like he didn't even exist. And in the footage, it's brutal. Not a single fan reached out. No one asked for a selfie. Not one phone in the air, nothing. But Salt Bae still tried to save face, walking around, waving a pen like he was some A-lister signing autographs. It was awkward. He kept mumbling thank you to people who weren't even looking at him. Online, people were loving it, but not in the way he hoped. The memes hit hard and fast. That security team, Fans called them the real MVPs. Meme after meme dropped faster than his famous Salt. And just like that, the so-called Salt King became a full-on internet punchline.
They're watching you to watch your demise. They're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you.
It was giving Jake Paul telling Jack Doherty to chill. Same level of delusion. Now the laughter isn't with Salt Bae, it's at him. His own followers have slowly turned their backs. The once adoring crowd, gone cold. Trying to do damage control, Salt Bae ran to social media, claiming the clip was fake. Said it was AI generated, said he was just passing by, and that thousands of fans wanted to meet him, but nobody believed it. Not a single soul was buying that story. This is the same guy who had the whole world copying his salt sprinkle. Now he's out here chasing attention, and no one wants a taste anymore. While the Cuban-American community in the US was still healing from deep, painful history, Salt Bae did the unthinkable. He posted a tribute photo of Fidel Castro. Yes, that Fidel Castro, like it was some edgy flex. It hit like a slap to the face for over 500,000 Cuban exiles in Miami, many of whom had escaped the trauma Castro caused. And just to twist the knife deeper, Salt Bae opened one of his ultra-luxury restaurants right in the middle of Miami. One angry local didn't hold back. He really posted a picture of Fidel Castro and then opened a restaurant here. I canceled my reservation and made sure to tell them why. The post was eventually deleted, but the damage was done. The salt had already burned into the wound. But he wasn't finished stirring outrage. Less than a year later, Salt Bae found a way to offend an entire nation, already crushed by a humanitarian crisis. While millions of Venezuelans were barely surviving on sugar water and scraps, Salt Bae was caught on video serving gold-covered steaks to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. That's right, $1,000 steaks, plated like jewelry while the country starved. The reaction was explosive. Venezuelans were heartbroken. Some even cried watching it. "My president is eating gold while we're starving," one person said. The video didn't just go viral, it ignited protests across the world. It looked like something straight out of the Hunger Games, Dictator Edition. A luxury feast while the people went hungry? It was a new low. The truth? It starts with the woman who brought him into this world, Salt Bae, the man who once had the globe at his feet, sprinkling salt like he ruled the planet, didn't visit his own mother for 2 whole years. Let that sink in. Not a call, not a gift, nothing. And this man has the money to hop on a private jet whenever he wants. But when he finally did show up, he stayed just a few minutes, still rocking his sunglasses, barely made eye contact, gave her a quick hug like it was a photo op, and dipped. The video, it hit hard. Social media was stunned. For a lot of people, this was the most painful moment. Not visiting your mom for 2 years? That's not just wrong, it's cold. Folks were heartbroken, because they know a mother's time is precious. If they had the chance, they'd cook her a meal, sit by her side, show gratitude the real way, quiet, honest, from the heart. One person nailed it. If he can be this indifferent to his own mother, how cold must he be to the rest of the world? And now, karma's knocking loud. Salt Bae's empire, once draped in gold and fire, is collapsing like a row of dominoes. The restaurants that were once the peak of luxury, they're crashing hard. In London, revenue dropped almost 50%. Things got so bad they had to shut off the heat in the middle of winter. People were paying $630 for a steak and shivering through dinner. In Greece, bookings fell by 67%. Boston's Spot got shut down in just 1 week for food safety violations. New York, quietly closed. Miami, drowning in lawsuits. And Dubai, the crown jewel of his brand, now sits empty, cold, and forgotten. Who could forget that infamous $140,000 dinner tab? A meal drenched in gold-plated steak, overpriced wine, and a tip big enough to cover college tuition. But here's the bitter truth. The food, straight up mid. That shiny gold leaf, just cheap foil you can grab for $10 on Amazon. Salt Bae wasn't serving luxury. He was selling a costume for clout. He charged thousands to wrap mediocrity in glitter, passing it off as fine dining. But the curtain finally dropped. People woke up. Even the rich started realizing they weren't eating quality. They were eating a joke. Salt Bae wasn't feeding foodies. He was hustling Instagram flexers with fake glam. And it only got messier. Remember his Boston location? It shut down just 1 week after opening. Why? COVID violations. Fire exits blocked, fridges broken, and even a dead dishwasher. Customers packed inside like sardines. And this was supposed to be fine dining? Please. But Salt Bae didn't slow down. In January 2024, he flexed again. posting a $150,000 bill from Dubai with the caption, "Money comes, money goes, my friend, mostly goes." That post backfired fast. The internet lit up calling it shameless. People were like, that kind of cash could feed a whole village. And during a global recession, it hit extra hard. Disgusting doesn't even cover it. And don't forget, this is the same man who once fed gold-crusted steaks to Venezuela's president while the country starved. A $1,000 meal for the powerful, while citizens survived on sugar water. That wasn't a flex, it was a slap to the face. But here's where it takes a darker turn. Behind the scenes of his luxury restaurants, things get even worse. Viral videos show Salt Bae feeding women meat in a way that's way too suggestive, stuffing it into their mouths in front of their boyfriends or husbands. One video said it all. I went to Salt Bae's restaurant, and my fiance was not about to let that man feed me. What was supposed to be a high-end dining experience turned into a full-blown joke, like some corny stage act where food was just a prop for awkward, over-the-top gestures. What used to be seen as flair now looked like plain disrespect. No one saw art anymore, just showboating and uncomfortable scenes that felt more like parody than luxury. It stopped being a vibe and started feeling like an ego trip on a plate. But
oh my God! Oh my God!
That wasn't even the worst of it. No one can forget the horrific disaster that went down in Istanbul. An evening meant to be a glam night out turned tragic in a matter of seconds. During one of Salt Bae's signature tableside fire stunts, an employee made a critical mistake, pouring too much alcohol onto open flames. What followed was an explosion. 4 guests were seriously burned, but the most heartbreaking story was that of Kristin Kova, a 28-year-old model from the Czech Republic. She suffered third-degree burns on 35% of her body. Her arms, chest, stomach, and back were scorched. Her dress ignited instantly. Within seconds, flames engulfed her, skin peeling and breath choking in sheer panic. Kristin later spoke out, her voice shaking. "I felt like I was dying, not just from the fire, but because no one helped me." She said the staff didn't know basic first aid. They froze, terrified, doing nothing while she screamed in agony. No extinguishers, no response, just panic, and a room full of people watching. Kristin spent months in recovery, undergoing multiple skin grafts, painful therapy, and facing a future filled with scars. "The fire didn't just burn my skin, it burned away the confidence in the life I once had," Kristin wrote. But what shook the public even more than her injuries was the silence. No apology, no message, no offer to cover her medical bills, nothing. And then suddenly, the surveillance footage, gone, just vanished. That silence wasn't just neglect, it felt like a cover-up, like they were trying to erase the entire thing. A quiet confession without saying a word. But that wasn't an isolated case. Over in Miami, another diner faced a totally different nightmare, one that also blew up online. A customer was threatened with police action simply because he refused to pay for a gold-covered steak he never ordered. That man stood his ground as staff warned him about possible jail time over a flashy piece of meat that looked like it belonged in a rapper's jewelry box, not on a dinner plate. People around him were stunned, shaking their heads in disbelief. The whole place felt less like a restaurant and more like a power play, where guests weren't customers, they were targets. And what finally forced Salt Bae to cough up nearly $500,000 in compensation? Not the fire, not the lawsuit over the threatened diner, but because of how he treated his own staff. Former employees from London, New York, and Miami came forward with damning claims. Salt Bae wasn't just a tough boss. They called him a straight-up tyrant. They said he withheld tips, snatching 3% off the top. Some claimed he confiscated foreign workers' passports, treating them like property, and anyone who dared speak up, fired without warning. It wasn't a restaurant anymore. It was a cult built around raw meat and ego. Female staff were allegedly pressured to wear revealing clothes to match the brand aesthetic, while male employees were constantly insulted and micromanaged like pawns under surveillance. One worker said it felt like being locked inside a cage made of fake gold, shiny on the outside, but hollow and cold within. A former manager didn't sugarcoat it. He thinks he's Tony Montana, but not for the swagger, for the dictatorship. For Salt Bae, Instagram is reality. In his world, laws are optional. Accountability doesn't exist. It's all about the spotlight, the flex, and that perfectly staged salt sprinkle. Behind the curtain, insiders say his operations ran more like a luxury dungeon than a fine dining biz, stealing wages, overworking staff, delaying paychecks, and creating an environment where silence was mistaken for loyalty, and anyone who pushed back treated like a traitor. In the end, Salt Bae's downfall wasn't because of one extra sprinkle or a viral slip-up. It was arrogance, plain and simple. He started believing that his fame excused everything, that the meme made him untouchable. He forgot one major thing. He wasn't running a restaurant anymore. He was running a circus. He tried to stretch a 5-second viral clip into a billion-dollar empire. But let's be real. You can't build a legacy on stage lights and 853 steaks that taste like hype and desperation. People came for the vibe, but they left once they realized it was all smoke and mirrors. Salt Bae was the symbol of a dream, the idea that someone from nothing could rise to the top. But here's what he forgot. A dream takes more than ambition. It takes heart. And when ego starts running the show, when food becomes just another prop for attention, not even gold can cover up the emptiness underneath. He sprinkled salt on steaks, and life sprinkled consequences right back. From hijacking Messi's World Cup moment, to gate-crashing the Champions League, to gold-crusted scandals and lawsuits, his downfall didn't come from one misstep. It came from a lifestyle built on delusion, believing fame could protect him from reality. And maybe the most unsettling part? It's not just about him, it's about us. Why did we fall for it so hard? Why did the world gas him up over a sprinkle, a flashy plate, and a few filtered clips on Instagram? Were we chasing sparkle instead of substance? Salt Bae isn't just one man, he's a mirror, a symbol of how easy it is to crown style over substance and how quickly it all crumbles when the lights fade. So what about you? Did you used to admire Salt Bae? Was there a moment that changed your mind? Drop a comment. I want to hear your thoughts. If you made it this far, sound off in the comments. What's one viral trend you totally regret falling for? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want more deep dives like this.